So this is going to be a quick breakdown for this scene. First, I got a bunch of image reference from the internet. I usually use Pinterest because it's very cool. You can find a lot of image right there. Another good one is ArtStation. And finally, I use Google image search. I think this one is pretty obvious. So then I collect this image reference into Photoshop and make a mood board like this. From time to time, one of the biggest mistake I make is I am never using enough reference. I always try to do things how I think it is, or how I remember it, or how I look into another game that I kind of remember, and so I start making level art without using proper reference. And so usually it turns out not quite right. So by creating a full mood board, I know where I am going, and so I can keep looking at the mood board and fine-tune what I am actually making to match the reference. And okay, for the assets that I use in this scene is I use Microsplat for the terrain blending, and for the font I use atmospheric high font. The pantry, I think I got it from the bundle. It's from Angry Mech, I think. Some of these proofs I created myself. This lotus and lotus flowers, I created it with speed tree and a bunch of free assets combined together. And now I'm going to explain to you a little bit of the thought process behind this project. So when I started making this scene, I knew that I want to reuse this one scene to make multiple lighting scenarios. I don't just want it to work only with only one type of lighting that kind of stuck only with the composition. I mean, the composition would work regardless of the lighting. So to achieve this, I had to iterate a lot with the level art and how I dress up the scene so the eye would flow properly throughout the image. So for this scene, first I try to match it to the main concept. Then I had to think about how I should guide the viewer's eye to the main focal point, which is the bonfire, right? So you see that I put the fan here as a leading line. Also, I placed this lotus and lotus flower very carefully so that it wouldn't distract or make close your eyes much. I kind of noticed that these flowers here and this, you see, I use them so it would the eye would flow properly, and these branches here will lead your eyes to the statues. I think this is pretty obvious that I use the contrast between blue and orange, the complementary colors of the two, which you now know that different lighting colors can change the scene mood drastically. And in the scene, as you can see, I use the warm orange or the bonfire contrast with the blue cool winter surrounding it. If you look at the image, you can see that I have the foreground, the midground, and the background. The foreground is around these parts, which kind of consists of this fence, the lotus and the water. And for the midground, we focus on the person and the bonfire the most. And the background is this vast sky here. And in terms of shape, notice that I use this fan in the foreground and I repeated it in the midground there. You can also see the wheel here and there. I do this in order to show how fast or how big this plate is, right? So now if we look at the overall image, we will see, I believe, our eyes will look at the woman with the bonfire first, and then we will see the statue's neck, and finally the rest of the environment. So here my scene light setup. I didn't use big global illumination. I just want to have a freedom of setting up lights on my own. I think I also need to show you some of the scenes that I specifically set up for this scene. And finally, I took screenshot with screenshot utility. I capture it at 8K and then reduce it down to 4K or Full HD. Usually I don't like what I capture from the game engine. It does not always turn out as I like, so I need to edit it a little more in Photoshop to get the look I want for a game screenshot. It's nice to edit the image before you post it to social media or for ArtStation, or maybe when you want to do a marketing screenshot for your game, right?